Welcome back to the Sunday Gorilla Men's Bible Study. I'm Brother Thomas Lee Harris III, and we are continuing in our verse-by-verse study through the book of 1 Samuel. And we've reached the 30th chapter. I have my tools, my highlighter, my Bible. Pray to God that He would, and it's important in the beginning of your study, like these are tapes, so we're going back to back. In the beginning of the study, that you ask God to guide you and to reveal His will to you, right? Draw on no other logic. Draw on the Spirit of God. Draw on God. Call on Jesus. Utilize that blood. In that blood is that strength, is that wisdom, is that knowledge. Amen? All right, so we're going to jump right into the 30th chapter, starting at verse 1. Now it happened when David and his men came to Ziklag on the third day that the Amalekites had invaded the south, and Ziklag invaded the south, and Ziklag attacked Ziklag, then burned it with fire, and had taken captive the women of those who were there, from small unto great. They did not kill anyone, but carried them away and went their ways. So David and his men came to the city, and there it was, burned with fire, and their wives, their sons, and their daughters had been taken captive. Then David and the people who were with him lifted up their voices and wept until they had no more power to weep. And David's two wives, Ahinom, the Jezreelitess, and Abigail, the widow of Nabal, the Carmelite, had been taken captive. Now David was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his son and his daughters. But David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. Amen. So I want to we want to highlight David strengthened himself in the Lord his God after people were blaming him for losing their families. Right? So always try to draw and put in context. There's going to be times where people call you out your name and blame you for stuff, and you just feel like you're all alone. How do you strengthen yourself? How do you beat that depression? But David strengthened himself in the Lord his God. Amen? With God. Amen? Verse 7. Then David said to Abiathar the priest, Amalek's son, please bring the ephod here. And Abiathar brought the ephod to David. So David inquired to the Lord, saying, shall I pursue this troop? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, pursue, for you shall surely overtake them, and without fail recover all. Amen. We're going to use a different color. I want to use a different color to put some dots around it, to mark how David inquires of the Lord. He asked Abiathar, the priest's son, to bring an ephod. The ephod is a garment, and it prepares him, puts him in the spirit. And he prays to God before making a serious decision. Verse 9. So David went, he and the 600 men who were with him, and came to the brook of Besor, where those stayed who were left behind. But David pursued, he and the 200 stayed behind, who were so weary that they could not cross the brook Besor. Verse 11. Then they found an Egyptian in the field, and he brought him to David. And they gave him bread, and he ate. And they let him drink water. And they gave him a piece of cake of figs and 2 clusters of raisins. So when he had eaten, his strength came back to him, for he had eaten no bread nor drank water for 3 days and 3 nights. Then David said to him, to whom do you belong? And where are you from? And he said, I am a young man from Egypt, servant of an Amalekite. And my master left me behind because 3 days ago I fell sick. Verse 14. We made an invasion on the southern area of Cherethites in the territory which belongs to Judah, and of the southern area of Caleb. And we burned Ziklag with fire. And David said to him, can you take me down to this troop? So he said, swear to me by God that you will neither kill me nor deliver me into the hand of my master, and I will take you down to this troop. Verse 16. And when he had brought him down, there they were, spread out over all land, eating and drinking and dancing, because of all the great spoil which they had taken from the land of the Philistines and from the land of Judah. Then David attacked them from twilight until the evening of the next day. Not a man of them escaped, except 400 young men who rode on camels and fled. So David recovered all that the Amalekites had carried away. And David rescued his 2 wives. Verse 19. And nothing of theirs was lacking, either small or great, sons or daughters, spoils or anything which they had taken from them. David recovered all. Verse 20. So David took all the flocks and herds they had driven before those other livestock and said, this is David's spoil. Now David came to the 200 men who had been so weary that they could not follow David, whom they also had made to stay at the brook of Besor. So they went out to meet David and to meet the people who were with him. And when David came near to the people, he greeted them. Then all the wicked and worthless men of those who went with David answered and said, because they did not go with us, we will not give them any of the spoil that we have recovered, except for every man's wife and children, that they may lead them away and depart. In verse 23, but David said, my brethren, you shall not do so with what the Lord has given us, and has preserved us, and delivered into our hand the troop that came against us. For who will heed you in this matter? But as his part is who goes down to the battle. Amen. Verse 24 again. For who will heed you in this matter? But as his part is who goes down to the battle, so shall his part be who stays by the supplies. They shall share alike. Amen. We want to highlight that, right? And what it was is the men were coming back for battle, and they were kind of, had an arrogance that y'all didn't even go. So we're going to give you your children and your wife back, but you're not going to get none of the loot, the money, the profits from war. And David, a righteous man, said, it shouldn't be so. There's 2 parts of that. Somebody got to stay back. Verse 25. So it was from that day forward, he made it a statute and an ordinance for Israel to this day. Now when David came to Ziklag, he sent some of the spoil to the elders of Judah, to his friends, saying, here is a present for you from the spoil of the enemies of the Lord. To those who were in Bethel, to those who were in Ramah of the south, to those who were in Jatir, those who were in Aroer, those who were in Siphmoth, those who were in Estemoa, those who were in Rakal, those who were in the cities of Jerahmeelites, those who were in the cities of Kenites, those who were in Hormah, those who were in Korsaran, those who were in Atalak, those who were in Hebron, and to all the places where David himself and his men were accustomed to rove. Amen. And that concludes the 30th chapter in the book of 1 Samuel. Once again, revealing the character of God that's on the man of David. Always giving. When he didn't have to, he changed the audience to make sure that he in verse 23, he says, my brethren, you shall not do so with what the Lord has given us. He never tries to harp himself and say, look what I did in battle. He says, look what the Lord has given me. Amen. And put that in context. Use that today. Whatever degree, whatever job, whatever success you have, look what God has given me. Amen. God bless you. I'll see you in the next chapter. Amen.